Yes, everyone, Ryan here. Another good day. I got to have a podcast with Mr. Rob Porter. Now, he's a coach with a tremendous journey in coaching. He started off coaching his son's team, and then he's ended up taking coaching sessions, training sessions in prisons in the UK. So he's visited jails, and he's not done that once or twice. He's done that 35 times. So it's a really interesting podcast to hear about his experience training prisoners, as well as his multitasking roles with Oxford United and a lot more. So tune in and don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, the usual thing. So today we have Mr. Rob Porter with us. I'm delighted to be able to chat with him again. We've had a chat on YouTube a few years ago during lockdown. Rob is always active in the coaching fraternity, always happy to give his time towards football and coaching. So, Rob, let's just start off with the traditional question. What do you think makes a good coach, and what does your typical session look like?
That's a very good question. For me, what makes a good coach is someone who gets the social side of coaching as well as the technical and tactical. I think it's easy to well, it's not easy to understand formations and systems and high presses, but if you've got that side of it, it's great. But if you then can't communicate, can't connect with your players, it all kind of falls down. I've seen loads of coaches who've got great knowledge, but then can't relate to people and can't communicate. So I think coaches who've got the full package and can sort of connect and their players like coming to their sessions, they enjoy their sessions, I think is what makes a good coach.
I mean, that's brilliant. You've actually emphasized that we are coaching human beings at the end, and that's really good to hear. You have taken an unusual route into coaching. So you started off coaching your son's team, and then you went on to work for Oxford United. So why don't you explain your coaching journey to us?
Yeah, so I started off quite a few years ago. My son's team, the coach was moving abroad, so I was asked to start helping out. Did that for a few years. Started to realise that actually A, I enjoy it, and B, I'm actually not too bad at it. So from there, carried on doing my coaching badges, did my level two, did my youth modules one, two, three, and then from there started. I saw an advert for Oxford United Community and started off there. From there, I've done that for a few years. Added on the Girls Academy on top of that. So yeah, the journey's just continued to January, where I've become full time with the community. So it's been a bit of a roller coaster. It's been a few years in the making, but I've got to the point where I've made it a full time career.
And I understand how hard it is in the UK to make a full-time career out of coaching, and you've done that. That's brilliant. Now, judging by your CV and the media articles that I found on Google, you are obviously a prized asset at Oxford United. So, with the multiple roles that you have played there. So, why don't you tell us about your experience with the club?
Yeah, I wouldn't be too sure about prize asset, but I've got many roles in the club. So I'm community lead coach. So I'm in charge of coach recruitment, coach development, holiday camps, and delivery over quite a few programs. I'm foundation phase lead for the Girls Academy and under 13s lead coach for the Girls Academy as well. So definitely keeps me busy. Said I do coach kids from 4 up to adults, boys, girls, probably about 50 hours a week in total. So busy coach.
Living the life, living a hectic life, but living the life for sure. And now you've
Definitely.
worked at grassroots development centers as well as at academy level. So can you tell us any differences you experienced in both?
Yeah, so I'm lucky enough where I still coach in all three. I coach my son's grassroots team, coach with Oxford United Community over a wide range of programs, and I coach with the Girls Academy with both the foundation phase and the YDP phase. So lots and lots of different experiences. Obviously, those high level experiences are great with the Girls Academy. Working in that high level environment, playing teams like Arsenal, stuff like that is obviously really enjoyable.
Yeah.
Um, Doing the stuff with the community as well. There's probably some of the most rewarding coaching you'll get. Working with like doing asylum seeker sessions, doing disability sessions, making a really massive positive impact on people's lives. And then the grassroots aspect as well. Still I coach my son's under 17s team, goalkeeper coach for them, and yeah, love that as well. So I think kind of very broad in terms of what I coach.
I term you as a multitasker, multitasking coach with all the million things that you do. But as one of the million things you do is working with the age groups of 5 to 11, the ages of 5 to 11. And that's supposed to be a golden period in developing a player for the future to lay the strong foundations. So what do you do? Can you let us in on some secrets to the success that, other coaches can apply at their own clubs?
Yeah, I think if there's the most important thing with a foundation phase is getting kids to fall in love with having a football. So if you're doing a lot of fitness stuff, you're pretty much only having like a ball per group. Per for a lot of the session, kids aren't going to get that many touches on the ball. They're not going to get those opportunities to fall in love with the ball. So doing lots of practice with a ball per player, a ball per pair, stuff like that. The more touches, the more contact time players get with the football, the more comfortable they get with it. So I think that's something that's absolutely massive for me.
You speak about getting players comfortable with the ball, and I know that you're a big fan of 1v1s. So, how do you integrate 1v1s into your sessions?
Yeah, for me, 1v1s are important massively. If you dominate 1v1s both attacking and defensively, that's huge. And I think the thing for me is coaching 1v1s in lots of different situations. So it's not just an attacker fronting up with defender trying to beat a 1v1. It's the fact that it could be a 1v1 with a back to goal. It could be 1v1 with a player to the side. So doing lots of stuff where it could even be a ball per pair, one trying to keep the ball, one trying to win it, and lots of body and limbs, lots of trying to keep the ball on the safe side, stuff like that. I think is as important as those fronted up 1v1 attacking and defending situations.
So, from what I understand, you like to give players maximum touches on the ball. Is that right?
Definitely. The more touches you can get, the better they're going to get, to be honest with you. But also building from repetition to realism as well. So you get lots of touches on the ball, but then you go into the weekend in a match situation, you haven't sort of worked on that at all, players are going to struggle with all the extra decisions, all the extra movement, opposition players. But on the flip side, if you do all game realism and they're not getting no touch on the ball, you're also going to struggle. So I think building your sessions from repetition to realism is something that I'm big on.
Yes, I like that term, repetition to realism, and I'm going to take advantage of your broad experience coaching different in different environments. So you have also coached girls teams, you have coached the female game. Are there any kind of differences you have experienced coaching girls as opposed to coaching boys?
Yeah, I really enjoy coaching both, but I think if I was going to choose one, I'd be coaching girls. Um, I think it's because they challenge you a little bit more as a coach, which I really enjoy. I think with boys, you can throw a ball, say that this is what we're doing, and 99% of times they'll get on with it. Where girls will ask a lot more questions, and they want to know the why behind what you're doing, why you're doing what you're doing. And I think that really challenges a coach, and it's something I really enjoy myself.
The real test of a coach's ability. And I've also, as part of my research on you, I've found an article you've written on Soccer Coach Weekly. And it talks about the importance of being specific with your praise. So, can you elaborate what you mean by that?
Yeah, I must have like years ago I'd fallen into that trap of just shouting, well done at a player, or that was great, or something like that. And it was the former TD at Oxford United sort of said to me, "But what are you praising? Will that player know what you're praising?" Which is a very good point. If they've just received the ball and had a shot straight away and scored, it's pretty obvious what you're praising. But if they've done a few things really well, it might not be so obvious. So if it's they've received the ball and they've gone on and beaten the player, it could be that well done for that, using that 1v1 skill to go past the player. But yeah, making it a bit more specific means that the players have an understanding of what they've done well, and I think that helps with their development.
Now this is something that's so it seems so simple once we understand the concept, but it took me a few years as well. Also, another area that I believe I'm weak at is as an assistant coach. So you're very good at working in pairs. So how would you say, what advice would you give to someone who wants to be a good assistant coach?
Yeah, I think being an assistant coach takes a certain mindset. Um, I think for me, being humble, I think is massive. Being a good communicator, I think working well with a lead coach, understanding what they need from you, and being able to help them, but also understanding that actually they've got the final say. So they may see something different to you, and they might have a different opinion. No, your opinion should be valid, but at the same time, you know, it's their decision at the end of the day. And I think on the flip side, if you're the head coach, I think you've got to be humble enough to know that actually you don't have all the answers and be able to listen to different people and what their opinions are. So you might not always take it on board, but having that understanding of what other people bring to it as well, I think is important. And then obviously things like how you then structure those sessions, whether one coach always leads, one coach always assists, or if you split sessions where one session one leads, next one the other one leads, or whether you split the practices so one leads one practice, one leads the next one. Loads and loads of different ways of doing it, but I think it's what works best for individual pairs. I think I know which way works best for me with a lot of people I've worked with, but different personalities and different age groups and different environments, require different approaches.
It's such a deep and complex topic, the art of being an assistant coach. I wish there was so much more, so many more resources available on trying to become good at this art for sure. Now, I'm left with my last question. I wouldn't say last question, but last topic on which I really want to spend a lot of time because this is definitely going to be intriguing every viewer possible who's watching. So, you've visited jails to coach prisoners. Can you tell us what exactly it was, what the experience was like?
Yeah, before I started full time, sort of this time last year, if someone said to me I'd be going to a prison to coach, I probably would have laughed at them, if I'm being honest. Something that I'd never expected to do. And I must admit, the first time I went into that environment, I was very intimidated. Having never been to a prison before, it was something that was very, very daunting. Um, but actually, you kind of come to realise that actually they're just people. A lot of them are actually decent people who've just made a mistake in life and end up in a bad situation. But yeah, so what we do in the twinning project, we go in there and we deliver basically a level one coaching, and it was a level one pre-COVID. So we go in there. It's like a 5-week course. We're going there twice a week. It has massive, massive benefits for those taking part because, some of them might be in their cells for 21, 22, 23 hours a day. It gets them out, it gets them onto a football pitch, they're getting health benefits, mental health benefits as well. But as well as that, it's teaching them, it's giving them skills that they can then translate to everyday life when they're released. But also it's skills that they can have as a person as well as a coach. So things like good communication skills, being punctual, stuff like that is all good things. But as well as that, I think one of the main benefits that they really love is having a game against the officers at the end of the course, like a real life meme machine. And we had one last week, and it was absolutely fantastic. In fairness, the cohort beat the officers with a last minute goal, and the celebrations were absolutely wild. In fairness, so no, it's good. It's something that, as I said, it's probably not for everyone, and I think you do need to have a lot of confidence to go in there to deliver to prisoners. But actually, it's one of the most rewarding things I've done as a coach.
I mean, you mentioned about being intimidated. I can't probably imagine if I could do something like that, and I'm going to go into a bit more detail. So, you said that they were in the cells for 22, 23, 24 hours a day. So, what kind of crimes were they in for?
I must admit, I haven't. I didn't really ask. I didn't want to get into that sort of side of it. They're all prisoners are on good behaviour.
Okay.
They're all, I think it's category C prisoners, so their crimes aren't, anything that would stop them getting a DBS and working as a coach upon release. So, it's not the worst people in society. It's as I said, it's normal people that you meet on the street and or you might be mates with in another world, but said they've just got themselves into a bad situation, but they are in general really good people. In fairness, so I think it's something that everybody makes mistakes in life.
Right.
We don't all make mistakes that get us to that point, but when we do, obviously people should be given that second chance. So helping them, giving them skills, giving them confidence, I think is really beneficial for them.
Well, so I'm based in India, and my idea of a prison is probably very different to what a UK prison is like. But when you stepped in there for the first time, what kind of welcome did you get? Like, what was the body language like of the prisoners?
So we do part of it is classroom based, and part of it's out on the pitch. And I must admit, like the classroom bit, I think a lot of them are a bit intimidating themselves actually when they come in because they don't do, they probably haven't been into a classroom for quite a few years. And it's actually quite good when you break the ice with them because there is that nervousness on both sides. I think to start with, they don't know quite what to expect. You don't know what to expect as a coach. So when you break that ice and you start building those bonds with them,
Yeah.
the same as you would do with your players on the team or players in the development centre, when you start building that bond and they understand that actually you're there and you want the best for them, they really they kind of really appreciate it.
There was an interesting story of a player called Jamie Lawrence who was in prison and then went on to play in the Premier League. So, what kind of talents? Like, did you find any talented players in the prison cell
In
in the
fairness, there
prison?
actually are some very talented players. I can't name, for some reason, I can't name names, but yeah, there's some lads who have got a lot of skill. In fairness, so some of the sessions have been really good, and there's some really good potential coaches I think down the line as well. And I said to him, look, you're not in the ideal situation starting your coaching journey, starting it from prison,
Right.
but actually having been in that prison environment kind of maybe sets you up actually a little bit because you're going to have that bit of more confidence in yourself that a lot of coaches don't start with. I must admit myself, I didn't start with any confidence. I was literally hiding behind my whistle, a bunch of like 10, 11 year olds and like really nervous. But I think a lot of them probably won't find that. So I think they're actually, although as I say, it's not an ideal situation to start a coaching journey, I think there is some benefits to it.
And how many visits have you made to coach in prisons until now?
I would have thought probably about I've been to the prison about 35 times now over the past year, so it
So
comes quite regular.
quite a
People,
veteran.
yeah, a lot of people on the gate kind of know me now and stuff like that. So yeah, and he still meets like some of the lads from the previous cohorts are still there, or they're being released, and they're getting in contact with us to finish their reward, and yeah, so it's going really well.
This is truly a tremendous story from starting off coaching at your son's team to now coaching at prisons for around 35 times. That's amazing. Now, what kind of advice would you give to upcoming coaches, to young budding coaches who would like to, have as many experiences as you have had and the quality
Yeah,
of.
I think going out and getting a lot of experience is massive. I think you do all the courses, but if you're not putting that into practice, I think it all kind of falls down to a certain extent. And going and experiencing different environments, different cultures. I've been lucky enough. I've kind of gone to a place like Barcelona to do visits and stuff like that, which has been really helpful. But yeah, just getting out, whether that's actually coaching in different environments yourselves or watching different coaches coach, I think is absolutely massive. It's where social media can become really handy because you start to actually, get in contact with other coaches and so if you don't ask, you don't get to a certain extent. Go out there and ask to help out, ask to go and watch, and it's all beneficial for you in the long run.
Yeah, I guess number of minutes, just like it helps players, I'm sure it helps coaches as well. And just before I let you go, now since you have had so many experiences in different environments, for the club owners or the academy owners around the world, are there any best practices you have observed at maybe your current club, your previous experiences that can really help accelerate the youth development setup at a club?
Yeah, I think for me, maximising what you're doing in terms of the amount of minutes people are playing, the amount of games you get to play as well. It's massive. But also those soft skills as well, and getting to know your players, getting coaches in who can do that people side of it, I think is important, because I think you only get the best out of people if they know you're trying to do the best for them. So it's getting the right staff and then maximising what you're doing in terms of the amount of ball rolling time, the amount of games you play, and those would be sort of the top tips for me.
Valid, really, really, really important points here. This was it was a brilliant chat. I appreciate that you were willing to talk quite a bit about your the prison coaching, if I term it correctly. So that's really good. It's going to be a top podcast for coaches around the world to listen to know about your incredible journey coaching your son's team, to coaching prisons, to coaching in so many environments. And yes, I think it was a really, really good chat. Thank you so much for giving your time. I understand you're always willing, always helpful to take part in anything to do with football and coaching. Thanks a lot for your time.
No, that's all good. Thank you for having me on. It's we're all here to improve each other, aren't we? So anything we can do to help other coaches improve, then improves their players, and that's what it's all about. It's all about improving players, whether that's technical, tactical, or improving them as people.
It is for sure. Brilliant. Hopefully, I get to talk to you again, maybe a few months later.
Yeah, definitely. I'd be more than happy to come on again.
Yeah, and just before you go, what's the best way for any listeners who want to get in touch with you to contact you?
Yeah, RJP coach on Twitter or now X. Is definitely the best way to interact with me. So yeah, get in contact.
Great. So for the viewers, the link to his Twitter/X profile is going to be on the description, so you can click on the link and you can get in touch with Rob. Great. Thank you, Rob.
No problem.